past, patiently waiting. I'm passionately smashing every expectation, every action's an act of creation. I'm laughing in the face of casualties and sorrow.
Oh, how you doing?
I am doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Well, hey, thank you so much for talking with us today. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, okay, first off, you play Aaron Burr in the touring production of Hamilton right now, which is amazing. Um, how has it been getting back on tour and getting back to the theater?
Oh, it's been great. I think, largely the country was really like chomping at the bit. So were all the artists and performers who wanted to get back out there on stage or, behind the camera or in front of the camera, whatever it may be. But it's been really exciting. I think this new variant, Omicron, or that at least the last variant, was very difficult to navigate. Since we're standing on stage without a mask, spitting at each other for 3 hours. So that leaves you pretty susceptible. And we've run into a couple of hurdles that we had to jump, but we did it. And it's working out fine. The most important thing is that we're keeping ourselves and our crew and our patrons safe as well. So
awesome. Well,
yeah.
Look, I know for me, the very first time that I saw the production of Hamilton, I kind of went in blindly. I had no idea what to expect. And the show, it literally blew my mind.
Nice.
You're laughing, you're in tears. It's such a phenomenal show. What was it like for you the very first time you got to experience Hamilton?
Wow. Let's see. I had already done a workshop as George Washington. I was in one of the original workshops opposite Lynn and Daveed Diggs, and Renee Goldsberry wasn't Angelica at that point. It was Rebecca Naomi Jones. But it's been cool. So after I did the workshop, this was before there was choreography, before things were set up. And in fact, it was still called the Hamilton Mixtape at that point. Wow. And so it was Chris Jackson's role as Washington, but Chris couldn't do it at the time. So Chris and I have tossed lots of roles back and forth earlier on in our careers. And I happened to, they liked me and I did it. And so that was kind of my first look at it, also with Leslie Odom Jr. and, Ariana DeBose. And then Thane Jasperson, who I think is one of the few last standing original cast member who's, all phenomenal talents. But then to see it, so I didn't get it. I ended up going on and playing Berry Gordy in Motown on Broadway at the time. And so I was doing that while Hamilton was starting to happen. And when I went to see it, my tickets were through Renee Goldsberry, who's an old friend of mine. And so to see them on that stage, creating this kind of hallmark historical theatrical piece was really, really special. I was just as blown away as everybody else. Even having been involved in the early stages and knowing what some of the music is, you still, without the full orchestra, without all of the pieces, without the choreography and the kind of final touches to the direction and things like that, you never really know what you've got. But I will say, even in the workshop, we knew it was something special, but to see it up there and to feel that like pride in your friends being up there and being a part of this, I think maybe at a younger age, I would be jealous and be like, oh my God, that should be me. Or, you know what I mean? That kind of entitlement. But later on, you really become truly happy for your friends and your peers who are up there, who are working, who are putting out great work and material. And, that becomes almost like you getting the gig without the paycheck, but, and the notoriety. But it really is a special thing, at least for me. It really is something that I look forward to.
I love that. That was the greatest answer to that question. I love that.
It was a little long-winded. Sorry.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. One of the things that I get a question of a lot when I'm trying to get people to check out the show, because ever since I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, you got to see this, which I'm sure is what a million other people have done. But one of the things that people ask a lot is, about the historical accuracy of the show. Do you get that question a lot?
Yeah. I think we get the question. I can tell you that it's not historically perfectly accurate. All the characters existed during the same time period, but what's crunched together is like the times that they met, or did they even meet, like the Sons of Liberty were probably never in a bar together all at one time. But their thought and mind, as far as the nation, was of one. It was very similar. So there's timelines that are scrunched together and all of that, but all of the characters and largely the general history of the period is definitely accurate.
So one of the things that I do really like about the show, and I think a lot of people will agree with me, are the costumes.
Mhm.
You guys look amazing up there, and I mean, I feel like with the emergence of Bridgerton and Downton Abbey and everybody obsessing. I mean, what do we need to start getting you guys to go back to these kind of very formal looking attire just on the daily? I want to be walking through the mall and seeing a guy dressed like this.
I think it would be cool. I mean, we have lots of horses hitched up in the mall, but who's counting? Houston's got some big malls. They got some space, and they definitely have horses. So
we absolutely do. We absolutely do. And I know you guys have got you can move around in those things. Oh, yeah, I love it. I love the look of the show.
Yeah, so they've switched a little bit. I mean, yeah, everyone is basically wearing, on some level, what is historically accurate, especially the guys, the principal men, and when people are doing Yorktown and wearing the coats, where they're wool. I mean, they're full wool like they would have been. They just recently started switching some of the fabric to be a little bit more breathable.
Is it because you're coming down to the South, and even though it's the winter, it's still really warm here?
Exactly. Listen, I have been to Houston and played Houston in July, which is like sipping pea soup from a cup. It's like, it's intense.
Yeah, I mean, I was so excited because like this morning it was like 40 degrees, but now we're getting up to 70. So I don't even know why I brought a jacket to work today.
I know.
No idea.
Yeah, exactly. And we're all looking forward to 70-degree weather, so don't worry.
Yes. So, having been, you've had this long history with the show and being a part of the workshops early on. What do you think it is about Hamilton as a whole that has made it such a successful production?
Well, I think first of all, I think the music really connects people. Back in the, I don't know, 40s or 50s, not like I was alive back then, but my sense of the period is that all of those theatrical shows that were on stage, kind of on Broadway, were the popular songs of the time. They were on the radio. And what is really cool is that Hamilton has kind of brought that back. Like you can, although they did that, the remixes and stuff like that, but, they brought it back so that where your ear hears stuff that you would hear on the radio, you know what I mean, within the show. And sometimes you do actually, maybe sung by Kelly Clarkson or whatever, but you know what I mean? Like it's all there. And I think that is the kind of first place that hooks people into the show. There's the hip hop aspect, which is not all of the show, but the kind of spoken lines of the show are hip hop. But then there's R&B, there's jazz, there's kind of a traditional musical theater number. So there's something for everyone musically. And if you hate all of that, and you're, if you're a dancer or you like choreography, that's there. But if you hate all of that, there's the history of the period. And while, like I said, it is crunched together, you can really kind of sit there for 2.5 hours and get a full-on history lesson, at least to the point where you as an audience member or a patron are willing to go and investigate further. You know what I mean? And be like, what was that? And that's pretty cool. I mean, for a show to do that about our own very vast and diverse history of this country, for people to go, hey, and especially now that it's all at your fingertips, let me go see what that's really about, or this person, that period, that war or that conflict, or slavery or whatever it may be. Like it's pretty cool. I mean, I love those aspects that really connect people, because we are the very kind of fabric of the show. And that's kind of the last thing. And for me, one of the most important things is when the audience looks on the stage and they can see themselves on stage, whether you be Asian, Black, Indian, white, like we've got everybody on stage, and there is no prescribed look to Hamilton. For every company, you will see sort of a different shifting of the complexions per character, and there's no one has to be this. No one is loopholed into they are the founding fathers, so they are this. The whole thought process of the show is that those guys were not from here, from the land that we stand on, you know? So they are therefore immigrants, you know? And so, you know, other than the Native Americans, there were no other Native people, you know? So I love that the show allows people to see themselves on stage and vice versa. We can see ourselves in the audiences, you know, and be like, those are our people. And they can say, yep, those are our people, or that's my guy or my girl, or, you know, like you know, you kind of get it. I like that commonality.
I love that. And I absolutely agree. I could not agree more. Now, for my next question, I will say my answer does change on the daily.
Yeah.
So I totally am not trying to lock you in here, but what is your favorite part of this show?
My favorite part of the show? I will honestly say that I'm not even in the number. It's the Battle of Yorktown, because when you get, you know, the ensemble, like there's ensembles in other shows that are not as diverse or not as focused and such a huge part of the show. Sometimes it depends on the show. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Sometimes they're kind of filler and they move scenery, and then the principals come on and they do their thing. But in this show, the ensemble is its own character, and without them, there would be no Hamilton for sure. Like they create the atmosphere. They're largely doing all of the choreography and singing at the same time. But the Battle of Yorktown, especially the button, the end of it, is one of the only times that we're almost all on stage at the same time. And it's so exciting to say, like, we won, as we button that number, and to have the audience like recognize, like, yes, we won. You know what I mean? Like there's something that is all encompassing about the moment that is truly special to me. And though it's not like a song that I sing or that I perform in, it like really like is my favorite moment and number of the show.
I love that. And I have and I think it's usually when I'm really stressed out at work that I'm having the Battle of Yorktown playing through my head, which is totally not comparable, but it's there.
I may have it as well when I'm having a bad day. I don't do this number. I'll just go out and feel good for a second.
Absolutely.
And then I'll go off.
Now, if you could play any other role in the show, what would you have fun playing?
Oh man, probably Angelica.
That would be amazing. I was really hoping you would say something like that. I was like, that's so cool.
You know, there's something, she'll hate this. Stephanie Umo will hate me for saying this, or any Angelica, for any of you Angelicas out there, or any Angelica lovers. But there's something Burr-esque about her, just in that she, I think, is really articulate. I think, you know, she is willing to kind of have that. I mean, I think people would say, you know, wait for it is when Burr kind of puts that mask on, takes it off, and then puts it back on. And she does that throughout Satisfied with, you know, setting up her sister with Hamilton, when she's really the one who wants that man, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so she buries a whole bunch of stuff just like Burr does, until it kind of blows up in her face when Hamilton, you know, has this whole affair, and she then, you know, the kind of aggressive, like protective Angelica comes out. And so I love the phases and faces and masks that she goes through and has to put on just to survive in the period. I mean, even so much as to go and marry someone else that she's not interested in, but she knows it'll be fine because he's got money and he's a nice guy. And, you know, like, you know, it's a great character.
I love it. I would play Angelica every day of the week.
See,
that's great. I love it. So I got a couple more quick questions for you. So one of the things I was thinking about the other day, and I'm sure that I know people have asked this before, but I'm curious to see what your answer would be. So at the very end of the show, of course, we've got Eliza on stage. She's closing out the show, and she does that gasp at the very end of her song. So what is your take on the gasp at the end?
Okay, I'll be honest with you. The first time I saw the show, I was like, what the hell was that? Like literally like after the workshop, and then we do the whole thing, and then we end the show with, and I literally turned to my wife and I was like, what the hell was that? I was like, did she forget a line? Did she like what? But
Yes.
now being on stage and being in it, and though no one specifically has ever told me, I think the Elizas would know better. But when you've got Hamilton who comes on stage, you've got Burr who's also there, who never, by the end of the show, never sees Hamilton. We're not to acknowledge Hamilton that he's present, but you're watching Eliza, who is alive in the time period, not necessarily the same space, but now you kind of use your imagination, and it's the same period. And Burr is where he is, and Eliza is where she is, and Angelica has passed. But at least for me, I don't watch Hamilton, so I feel like it is almost like that moment in Ghost where Patrick Swayze and what's her name?
Oh, Demi Moore.
Yeah, have that moment where he finally goes on. Except they're not in this one. They're both going to pass. He's already passed, and I feel like he's ushering her into that light, and that's her last gasp, and that they'll be together. That's the short version of it. But definitely when I first saw it, I was like, what? I didn't get it. And it's brilliant. You know, when you look at it, truly it's brilliant. But you know, in the moment after all that excitement, it was like, huh?
To be fair, when I first heard it, I was in the middle of crying my eyes out, so I thought maybe I misheard it. I'm like, maybe I missed the part. Was I just crying and
exactly.
I didn't hear it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so just to wrap up, I always end with this question. Why do you think City of Houston needs to come and check out Hamilton?
Oh, man. Well, Houston, first of all, I'm so happy to be back. I've been there in every phase of my career. And I love Houston. Not only is NASA there, but when I originated the Gazelle tour of the Lion King as Simba, our first stop was Denver and our second stop was Houston. So it was like going from like Mountain Air to, again, pea soup in July. Enron had just fallen and Houston was trying to vie for the Olympic bid. So Fannin Street was all torn up. And I mean, it was, so then I came through with Motown the Musical in the last like 6 years as Berry Gordy. And this will be my third time. So it's like these hallmark kind of life moments and career moments for me, or like my favorite role moments, come full circle. But really, honestly, the reason to come is because this is one of those really, truly, honestly special shows that has a little something for everybody that you will remember always. It's got earworms that you will be singing daily at work or jogging. You could even put on a workout. I know Peloton has like a Hamilton workout, you know, you know, it's just, it's great music. It's a really cool story. It's a very diverse cast. So everyone is going to feel kind of part of the story, you know, on stage and in the audience. It's just part of us, you know. It's very cool.
Well, that was perfect. Josh, thank you so much for talking to us today. I really, really
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
it. All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
There you have it. So Hamilton is going to be hitting the Hobby Center February 22nd through March 20th. You can get your tickets now at broadwayatthehobbycenter.com. You can also check out the Hamilton app for your chance to score some very, very sweet discounted tickets. It's worth the try. I absolutely recommend doing it. And then you can come and join Josh. I know I'm going to be there. I don't know how I'm getting in yet, guys. I'm going to try to be there.
Let me know.
Watch you all. And we're going to have a great time. We all can be in the room where it happens together. So thank you so much, Josh. Looking forward to seeing you. And you've been great talking with us today.
All right. Likewise. Thanks so much.
Thank you. You have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Happy Valentine's.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.